Old Acquaintances, which sounds a lot like Old Acquaintances, which is what they're going for, which consists of two witches that have been meeting each other for centuries, trading off this talisman. And this is a frustrating episode. It's written by Edith Swinson, who I've talked about before, who has written both terrible and great episodes of Tales from the Darkside. Their episodes usually do have quite a bit of thought put into them, and that's also the case here. There is a good story somewhere, but man, is it brought down by the low budget, terrible acting by the two protagonists, and an ending that seems like it should be the beginning, which I'll go over in a second. So, two witches, Mary Hobbs, played by Sally Gracie, and Elizabeth Eaton, played by Linda Thorson, have been meeting at the same location since the 1600s, and each year they have this magical talisman that they trade off. So one year, Elizabeth gets it, then the next year, Mary Hobbs gets it. And this tells the backstory. They came into this talisman and came to this arrangement. Now, Elizabeth Eaton, as I mentioned, is played by Linda Thorson, who is most known for playing Tara King, aka Miss Emma Peel, in the TV show The Avengers. Now, if you're saying, wow, this does not look anything like Miss Emma Peel, she's aged terribly. That's not exactly what happened. Linda Thorson actually is an attractive girl, and she's only 47 in this episode, but Tales from the Darkside, being mind-numbingly stupid always, casts either super old people or attractive women and just makes them look ugly. So she's supposed to be this upper crust businesswoman, so they give her an old lady fake wig, make sure her lips are pencil thin, to give her an appearance and completely hide her actually good body, to give her an appearance of this no-nonsense, tomboyish businesswoman. She looks terrible, and the acting here is bad too, since she has to be a businesswoman, but also she has to be a witch from the 1600s. So they go back into the 1600s, and they're both dressed differently, obviously. And now they have terrible, old-timey accents that they both have to put on.
Man for a husband.
Two-faced whore.
Shut up.
It's kind of an impossible role for anyone to pull off, and it seems very rushed. You have two good actresses here that have the ability to act, but you wouldn't notice it from this episode. It really shows what a good director can get out of someone. Or in the case of Tales from the Darkside, the bad performances they can get out of good actresses. And nothing really happens in this episode. It starts with an interesting premise. They meet to trade off this talisman, and of course they both hate each other because each one wants this talisman for themselves because it imbues them with magic powers. Also, Edith Swinson does a good job of making the personalities distinct. So Elizabeth Eaton, Linda Thorson herself, is the younger and quote-unquote hotter woman that Mary Hobbs is jealous of. They show this rather than explain it, but I think it's pretty clear that Mary Hobbs wants to be Elizabeth. She wants to be younger, she wants to be richer, and they also bring up the fact that Elizabeth uses this talisman the way all of us would actually use it, which is to enrich ourselves, to in this case get a good husband, to get a good job, and to quote-unquote help the people around her. Mary Hobbs, on the other hand, is more of an old-timey witch. She uses this talisman to cast spells on toads, and apparently use it for demon lovers. Not exactly sure what that is. But she's not doing this to enrich herself, or make her looks better, or really to improve her position in society. So this dichotomy of an old witch, of what we think of an old-style witch who just throws an eyeball into a stew, casts a spell to make it rain, is kind of funny. The dichotomy between that and what a new style witch would do, quote-unquote new style, that enriches themselves. But once again, nothing happens in this episode. They tell the story of how they got the talisman. They ramble on for several minutes, giving exposition that has no bearing to the story. And then at the end, which all ruined the ending, they keep saying over and over again that each year they exchange this talisman. They make this very clear. A lot of the other part of their story is not clear, but this part is clear. And that's where it ends. So they flash back to the present time. Elizabeth tricks Mary Hobbs into taking this talisman before the 1 year is up, so she breaks the rules and gets turned into a cat. And that's it. Once again, the ending seems like it should be the beginning. The beginning should be them setting up that there's a power struggle over this magical item and how they use this. And then they can maybe cast spells on each other, maybe go to a different location, have some give and take of how Mary Hobbs says that this magical item should not be used for enriching yourself, which is hinted at, but they never really follow through with. But no, it just ends the way that it starts. She does turn her into a cat, though. That's it. Old Acquaintances is quite bad. It's going to get a 3 out of 10. And it's one of the episodes I wasn't looking forward to reviewing. But we're doing all of them. We're not skipping over boring episodes. We're going to talk about them and say why they failed and what they could do better. And hopefully maybe someone can go back in time and give the makeup and costume designer a wedgie. Let's look at some reviews, good and bad. This person gave it a 6 out of 10. Witches vie for power and hierarchy. This TFTD episode involves a tale of two witches, and it goes back in time, then again to the present time. It certainly does. One is an old witch who wants to rule. She sees how a younger, more up-and-coming witch has gained powers to perhaps rule the palace. Well, the palace is a museum now, but rule the world, maybe? Only she remembers back in time, as the episode flashes back to the time when the younger witch gained power. And when the episode returns to the present day, you see how the younger witch has gained her smarts and become clever, with clever and magic powers to rule the castle palace. Keep referring to the castle. It used to be a castle, it's a museum now, but the old castle. As youth and eagerness outsmarts old and greedy wickedness. Overall, nothing special, but not one of the better Tales episodes. Still, it's worth a watch if you're a fan of the classic series. There is possibly a good story in here somewhere where the younger witch needs the older witch because she's had the talisman longer, so she can show her how it works. So she strikes a deal with her where she gets a year, then the older witch gets a year. But overall, Miss Emma Peel comes out on top. Again. This person gave it a 3 out of 10. Not that impressed. Me too. Auld Acquaintances seems to have had an even lower budget than usual, and that's saying something. This whole set looks terrible. I didn't comment on this, but the whole thing is so dreary, washed out, brown. Whew, this is one of the ugliest looking episodes. And part of it is supposed to be in present day with the museum, so that part could be vibrant, even if when they're in the prison cell in the 1600s it's supposed to look dreary, but the whole thing looks dreary. Oh man. It's set entirely within the same single set location. It features only 2 actors. There's just not enough here to sustain 20 minutes. You're right, there's enough to sustain about 5 minutes. And there's nothing I would describe as horror either. The acting is okay, but nothing amazing. That's being generous. Auld Acquaintances is yet another totally forgettable and thoroughly dull, that's the key word, Tales from the Darkside episode that has practically zero going for it. Not even an adventure can save this. There's no horror, no effects, and the absolute minimum of story. I just can't see anything here to entertain. Oh, sounds like I wrote this review. Next up is episode 19, The Social Climber, about a guy who gets a pair of magical shoes. Check out our playlist for all episodes of Monsters, Fear Itself, Cowboy Bebop, Black Mirror, Tales of the Darkside, of course, Pet Shop Horrors, and Mystery Science Theater 3000. Thanks a lot.